Hello, my name is William Schirmer. I'm very happy to be here talking to you today and as a part of the Inspiring Workplaces virtual conference. Today we're going to be talking about leading with servancy and stewardship, which has been a part of our organization's teaching for current and prospective leaders in order to build and maintain a workplace culture we believe is positive and healthy. So what is servant leadership exactly? Well, you've probably heard the term bandied about over the last couple of decades or so, and I want to talk about what it is and what it is not a little bit further. But it is not a weak or soft form of leadership. Servant leadership, like all other forms of leadership, still set expectations. We still hold high standards for behavior and performance. We still hold people accountable for their effort and results. Where it may differ is really a perspective that we as leaders don't sit above our people. We are there acting as a resource. We are serving the people that serve our end stakeholders. And in doing so, we want to make sure that they have the tools and resources to get the job done, that they are clear about expectations and the guidelines for performance and behavior, and that we coach and we remove barriers to success. That is a big part of what servant leadership is. It sounds like an overly simple explanation. It probably is, but really, servant leadership doesn't substantially depart from other forms. There's just a little bit different mindset in how we use our skills and experience as a leader to serve the needs of others along the way. So closely related to the concept of servant leadership is stewardship. And stewardship is the concept that as leaders, we don't own anything, that we are merely stewards for the organization's resources, including its most precious resource, its people. And the intent, of course, is to make sure that people are better off for having passed through our particular teams and having experienced our leadership. And so there really is a sense of obligation and responsibility to care for, the welfare, the nurturing of the resources to which we are entrusted. That, in essence, is what good leadership is all about. Our role is to apply those resources effectively. Of course, we have a responsibility in the end to obtain results primarily through the work of others, through our teams, but we have to take that responsibility seriously in providing the resources, the work environment, and the guidance in order to do that. So in the end, the concept of stewardship is about that sense of obligation and also a realization that because we do not own any resources, that we must occasionally set people free, right, to take on the next step in their particular careers, whether it's internally, hopefully, or occasionally outside of the organization. But leaders that hold their people back, particularly good performers in their teams, are really limiting the use of great resources within their organization. And frankly, that is a more selfish attitude. So stewardship, again, is a selfless concept, and it's very closely related to servant leadership. So we're going to explore the idea or concept of being sensitive and nurturing as an aspect of servant leadership. Well, why do we care about this, or why should we as leaders? Shouldn't our people just leave their emotions and problems at the door? Well, of course, we realize that's not the reality of work today, and would be a rather naive way of us to lead. We want people to come to work filled with emotion. We want to harness or create positive emotion and then harness it for the good of both the organization and people's work experience. So servant leaders that are sensitive and nurturing are indeed tuned into people's emotions and can sense when people are struggling with more challenging emotions. Indeed, our job as leaders is to work with emotion, right, to help people navigate through more challenging emotions and to create the conditions for positive emotions to be there, again, so we can harness them for mutual benefit. Another important part of servant leadership is the ability to empathize with others, to identify with their situations, and importantly, to show care and concern for others' welfare, not just for the work products that they produce, but for them as people. When that happens and our people really sense that we are interested and that we care about them, greater loyalty and productivity and retention result. It is good business in addition to just being the right thing to do as leaders. We need to be aware also of avoiding what we would call the critical heart. That is, in the quest for continual improvement and perfection, sending the message to our people that it is never good enough, that they are playing a game they can't win no matter what they do. When that happens, of course, people go to work elsewhere because they don't want to come in to work feeling like they are, less than adequate. So we need to watch that as well. We don't ignore problems, of course, but we make an effort, of course, as well, to encourage our people and to generate those positive emotions, to celebrate progress and good work, even if it is less than perfect, and it is almost always less than perfect. Another important aspect of servant leadership, as well as any good leadership, is for leaders to remain grounded and realistic. And there is a sense of humility wrapped up in this as well. When leaders are well grounded, that is, they don't tend to get too high or low, that is, they are more tempered in their emotions, that can be a good thing for teams. Of course, if you've ever worked in a team where you never knew what emotions the boss was going to come in to work with, it can be a rather stressful environment to work in. So there's a predictability around behavior of leaders when they exhibit some emotional control or temper their emotions as well. That is important. When that happens, leaders are better. They are better at putting into perspective the highs and lows that people experience in the workplace, both successes and setbacks and failures. And that is a good thing because leaders are the rock that other people lean on for support and look to for modeling in terms of behavior in the workplace. When this happens, such leaders are also better at setting in place realistic goals, and they're better at assessing resources and limitations in order to reach those goals as well. And that is a good thing for teams also. Now, doing this isn't thinking small, right? This is not about compromise or thinking small. It is easy to come up with rather grand schemes or rather extreme goals, but the ability to execute on those is what's important for leaders and for organizations. And so leaders that are grounded tend to have a better assessment of both limitations and the ability to reach goals. Those are great things for performance management in organizations as well. So another important aspect of servant leadership and good leadership in general is the ability of leaders to temper their ego and to remain humble. Leaders are particularly at risk of falling into arrogance because they have been put in a position of power, a belief that they've been put in that position because they are somehow smarter or better than others or may have all the answers. We of course know that that's simply not true. And a leader's job is to get results by using the collective skills and experience of others, and others are often better than we are or more accomplished at doing certain things within our teams. And so our ability to take advice and to listen to the counsel of our people is really important. And I love this quote from Ryan Holiday. He wrote a wonderful book called Ego is the Enemy. He says that ego, we see most commonly, goes by a casual definition: an unhealthy belief in our own importance, arrogance, self-centered ambition. It's the sense of superiority and certainty that exceeds the bounds of confidence and talent. And if you've ever worked with humble leaders, you know that these are individuals that take opinions into account. They don't place themselves above other people. They include people in decisioning where possible. They're thoughtful and respectful as well. And they place individuals in a better position to use more of their skills and talent, where arrogant leaders tend to ignore those things, make decisions themselves because they always have the best ideas. And if you've worked in an environment like that, you probably underutilized your skills badly and were wondering why indeed you're there if the leader is not going to take advice, not going to listen to counsel, and not going to use your skills. And indeed, that is a driver of turnover in organizations. So this ability to remain humble and to guard against ego is critically important. So in wrapping up this idea of remaining grounded and realistic, including, importantly, being humble, I happen to love this quote. It's a Chinese proverb that says, "Be like the bamboo. The higher you grow, the deeper you bow." And this really is a message for leaders to understand as they continue to rise in the ranks, whatever that may mean for you in your career and your organization, that you can't forget the individuals at the most important level of the organization, which are the people doing the work for the customer directly, and that we have to indeed, humble ourselves and understand that we serve the needs of people that serve our customers, whoever that may be. Another important aspect of servant leadership is this idea of empowerment and the fact that individuals want to be captains of their own ship. They want to author their own fate, and they feel much better about their experience in life as well as at work when they have the ability to influence outcomes. And it's really important that we remember that along with responsibility, we need to provide authority and resources as well. And that is a key concept, of course, of empowering people. When we allow people the freedom, right, to use their discretion and also to collaborate as they see fit with others in order to deliver on your expectations, that is a critical aspect of empowerment. And we also need to remember that when we empower people, when we provide them discretion and allow them to make decisions, that there will be surprises along the way, there will be unexpected outcomes, there will be mistakes that happen. And all of that is part of supporting an innovative environment. There's nothing that kills innovation than crucifying people for mistakes. And so we need to remember, along with the authority and the discretion to make decisions, mistakes are going to happen. And as a leader, our goal is to make sure that big mistakes don't happen or repeated mistakes, but we understand that a part of people's professional growth and around discovery and innovation is around unexpected outcomes in discovery. We need to remember too that true empowerment happens when we allow people complete discretion or authority within certain boundaries. In other words, to really empower people, you've got to define what the boundaries are, the terrain in which they have power, and then allow them to use that power and discretion to make decisions and to deliver on results in a manner in which they determine how, right, within limits. And our role as leaders and as servant leaders is to consist of delegated goals, to provide people expectations and guidelines, deadlines, some expectations around what a good work product looks like, and then allow people to go do good, whatever good may be in their particular environment. That is real power. Even though it may have limitations, that you have provided some guidelines or sidelines, people will much better appreciate that if they realize that within those boundaries, they have a lot of freedom to operate as they see fit. Another important aspect of servant leadership and good leadership in general is inclusiveness. Now, inclusiveness is a subject that's been oft talked about the last couple of decades and is a really important part of leading effectively and individuals feeling valued and trusted in the workplace. People want to be in the loop regarding what's going on. They want to be kept informed about issues and problems in the organization and about decisions that may affect them. And that's reflected in certain behaviors in leaders. And the first is a sense of transparency, right? Being as transparent as practical about issues and activity going on and about decisions that are being contemplated. Ideally, we include people on decisions that affect them where it's practical. We all realize that not all decisions can work in that way, and sometimes decisions are just imposed. But if that's the case, talking about how to implement the decisions that have already been made is important. We can discuss with our people what issues they might have or concerns with the decision, and of course their ideas about how to most effectively implement them. Solicit their ideas and create an environment where people can talk, right, and have some debate and disagreement, which is really a best practice, right? That is indeed how innovation occurs when there is healthy but respectful debate. And that is also, of course, about welcoming people who have a variety of backgrounds, embracing differences within teams, and using those differences to make sure that a wide variety of perspectives are being considered and thoughtful decisions are being made. Now, the ability to be an appreciative and encouraging leader is probably just good common sense in addition to being a best practice and aspect of servant leadership as well. I don't know of any work environment ever where surveys have been completed by staff and staff have said, we just received too much encouragement or appreciation. We're recognized too much. This is a constant, a regular aspect of employee engagement surveys where organizations have been told time and time again that they can do better in terms of appreciation and encouragement of their people. So some basic behaviors that and ideas that leaders can take into account here is that the most valued form of recognition and appreciation is often spontaneous. You know, these are not formal programs, but this is the ability to spontaneously say, hey, I really appreciate the work that you're doing here. You should be proud of the job that you're doing. Thank you so much, you know, for your efforts. That sincere, spontaneous verbal recognition is often the most appreciated by team members. Recognizing your people in group settings can often supercharge the good feeling, and words of affirmation are also appreciated. And this is demonstrating some appreciation for who your people are, not just what they produce at work. So celebrating people's personality aspects, you know, their ability to be supportive, encouraging, flexible, whatever it may be, you're recognizing people for who they are rather than just what they do can really supercharge good feeling at work. Other ideas, you know, simple things like handwritten cards sent to home, placed on a desk, demonstrate some time and care was taken for appreciation. Emailed thanks when you're copying your own supervisor can help spread the good feeling as well. And again, this sense of sensitivity and being able to pick up when people are struggling is critical as well. Because remember that just a few words of kindness and encouragement when people are struggling can make a world of difference to individuals. No other simple but really impactful ideas around appreciation and encouragement can include symbolic gestures like traveling trophies, certificates, awards for special contributions, these sorts of things, while more formal programs can certainly help spread the good feeling. We talked about simple thank yous, you know, both written and spoken. And remember to be intentional about wording. Remember, as leaders, we have the ability through just a few careless or venomous words to ruin people's weeks or months. And also through a few kind words and thoughtful words, we really have the ability to help pick people up and make people feel really good about themselves. And remember that people get into relationships with others not to make the other people feel good, but to make themselves feel good. That is a common or basic human need, right, around a sense of self-worth. And if we can be that person, the person who makes others feel good about themselves, that is a really powerful resource that we have as a leader to help spur on performance and a good atmosphere in the workplace. You know, there's a lot of creative low-cost ideas. There's some great books out there, including 1,501 Ways to Recognize and Reward Employees. There's a wonderful book called Managing to Have Fun at Work. But there are lots of simple ideas out there to help spread good feeling in the workplace. Now, you may not have heard of the Pygmalion effect. This is a really interesting phenomenon that is related to recognition and appreciation, but it has been studied time and time again in education settings, in the workplace, and also in military settings. And it shows the power of recognition and appreciation. And often experiments happen where individuals are divided up into two groups. One group is told nothing. They're given no additional encouragement or information. And the other is given some positive reinforcement. So for instance, if individuals were taking a math test uh, and results came in and both groups had essentially the same results, one group would be told nothing, the other would be told, your results really indicate that you've got some great potential here to do wonderful things with numbers, and you should be proud of the work that you've done on this test. And as a result, and it's probably not a surprise, those individuals that are given positive reinforcement actually do better or perform better in subsequent tasks of a similar nature. So this is about the power of encouragement to make a positive impact on performance management at work. So if you've ever, had children who were in a music recital or perhaps a sporting contest, and you gave them positive reinforcement beforehand, you probably said to them, "Hey, you're going to do great." In truth, we're not sure, but we know giving that encouragement to our children that they will do their best. Whatever the circumstances, they will try their hardest to prove us right and indeed, to succeed. Well, guess what? It works on adults too. So again, the Pygmalion effect is a really interesting demonstration of the power of positive reinforcement. So I've spent 2 or 3 minutes talking about recognition and appreciation, but Stephen Covey, who wrote the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, encapsulates this even better in his simple quote that next to physical survival, the greatest need of a human being is psychological survival, to be understood, to be affirmed, to be validated, to be appreciated. And this is very true in both work and life. That is a fundamental human need, to feel a sense of worth and impact, and that what we're doing makes a difference and that others appreciated us for it. So this really can't be understated how important it is to help spread the good feeling through recognition and appreciation. A fundamental facet of servant leadership and just basic good leadership is the ability to demonstrate selflessness and self-sacrifice, and to be a resource for protection of our people, right? When our individuals in our teams understand that we will not throw them under the bus when things go wrong, that we will not operate in our own self-interest at their expense, they will often be more loyal. We will have a greater sense of credibility and respect with our people, and we'll have the ability to positively influence them, again, for their benefit and for the benefit of the organization as well. So remember, as leaders, we are responsible not only for our own behavior, but for the behavior and performance of everyone in our team. We don't have the luxury of throwing people under the bus, because in the end, we are responsible. We are the ones ultimately where the buck stops, so to speak, and we must take responsibility for everybody. So our people are very sensitive to everything that they see us saying and doing as a leader, and so we need to be aware of that and to make sure we're setting a good example in terms of demonstrating our selflessness. An important aspect of that, of course, is to make decisions with the best interest of the group in mind, and our own interests as secondary, and to create, again, a safe space for discussion and debate and disagreement to occur. When that happens, again, people feel more comfortable sharing of themselves, and ultimately that means that they may steer us away from making bad decisions or perilous decisions as a leader as well. Make sure, too, that people are not crucified for making mistakes. Obviously, people need to be responsible for their performance and behavior, their outcomes, but the best way, again, to kill innovation and to create an environment where people do just enough to get by and to fly under the radar is indeed to crucify mistakes. Now, Simon Sinek is another wonderful leadership theorist. He's written several wonderful books on leadership philosophy, including one called Leaders Eat Last. He references this fable, which I'll outline to you in a minute, when he's really talking about creating a safe space. That part of a leader's goal is to create a circle of safety where individuals within the team understand that we don't backstab, we don't have ulterior motives, we don't work against each other, and ultimately that's the price of joining and remaining in the team. And when teams have each other's backs and are mutually supportive, they're a much more powerful resource to ultimately deal with challenges in the outside work environment, changes, and again, whatever obstacles they may face on the road to success. And Aesop's fable supports this idea as well. And the fable was that a lion used to prowl about in a field in which 4 oxen used to dwell. Many a time he tried to attack them, but whenever he came near, they turned their tails to one another, so that whichever way he approached them, he was met by the horns of one of them. At last, however, they fell a-quarreling amongst themselves, and each went off to pasture alone in a separate corner of the field. Then the lion attacked them one by one and soon made an end of all 4. And the message here, of course, is that people who are united are much stronger than divided, and that close-knit teams who are mutually supportive and protect one another, of which the leader is an important resource, are a much more powerful force for success than teams that are divided and who are fraught with infighting. And lastly, I want to talk about another important aspect of servant leadership and good leadership, which is the ability to provide purpose, meaning, and significance for our people so that they feel that the work that they do is meaningful, it's impactful, and that it is indeed something that makes a difference to the team and the organization. So how do we do this as leaders? Well, it starts with providing a general sense of why we're here, right? Why does the team exist? And so your ability to craft a mission or vision statement for why the team operates is a great first step. Another is your ability, especially early on with new hires, is to explain how doing the job effectively has a positive impact upon themselves and their careers, but also the team and the organization, so that people understand that the work they do impacts many other people, right? Whether it be the organization, the team, customers, or themselves. A great tool in demonstrating this is testimonials. If you have testimonials from customers or end stakeholders about an individual who's gone above and beyond, or how the work of the organization has positively impacted their lives, that's wonderful because it can begin to humanize the work for individuals and to really help them understand how doing their job really helps others. Very few people get up each day and say, you know, I'm really happy that I can go to work today and help the organization make more net profit, right? That isn't something that tends to drive people towards the workplace every day. It tends to be those one-on-one stories where they can really understand one person at a time how doing the work makes a difference. Sometimes it's about reframing job duties. And that is an explanation of how doing basic work, and it might be work that our people find a little less glorious or a little more mundane, really does make a difference. And so that's important. There was a story about a maintenance person at NASA in the United States who was sweeping the floor. And this was in the 1960s. And when he was asked what he was doing, he said, I'm helping to put somebody on the moon, right? He could have just said, I'm sweeping the floor. But he understood that his job duties were an important aspect of being a larger team that was doing something bold, something great that had never been done before. And lastly, your ability to effectively set goals and to help people achieve is a really powerful tool in providing a sense of significance, because nothing helps boost self-esteem and a general sense of self-worth in people than the ability to achieve their goals. So you have just had the whirlwind tour of servant leadership aspects, and I hope you've found some of the tips or some of the discussion insightful. So what are the benefits in the end of adopting a servant leadership philosophy where you understand that you have an obligation to be a resource for others as well? Well, staff tend to share information with you more openly, right? There are less surprises where problems or issues are being swept under the rug, and people are coming to you more proactively and more openly to share struggles so you can help make a difference because they understand it's a safe place to be. You're more likely to get willing followers who will follow you without the need to use your power and authority more overtly. When you're gone, they operate more independently, which is a good thing, right, for your own sense of work-life balance as well. That you know whether you're in the office, so to speak, or out of the office, your people are going to be able to work effectively on their own. Occasionally, as well, having gained a sense of credibility and respect with your people, they will save you from yourself. They will whisper in your ear occasionally and mention, hey, this is not a great decision. You shouldn't be going down this path. They do that because they know you would do the same for them, and you've demonstrated a sense of selflessness and the fact that you, in turn, operate in their best interests as well. You also tend to create environments that are more innovative, that foster curiosity and discovery, and those are good things ultimately for long-term performance of the team. And you tend to have better relationships with your staff. All of the things that we talked about are good basic leadership functions that in carrying them out successfully will result in more healthy and more mutually beneficial relationships between you and your team members. I hope you enjoyed the discussion and found it informative. Again, I'm very honored to be a part of the Inspiring Workplaces virtual conference event, and I wish you all well, and I'm more than happy to follow up with any of you who might have some additional questions or be interested in talking more about servant leadership.